With only 2 weeks left in the Prairie Football Conference regular season, your 2-4 Edmonton Huskies play host to their Southern Alberta rival in the 2-6 Calgary Colts. There is a massive logjam at the bottom of the standings as 4 teams are currently tied with identical 2-6 records, which puts massive significance on this matchup as the winner of this game controls their own destiny. The Huskies took the most recent matchup in Calgary last week with a 41-30 victory, which sets the table for the rematch at JP Bowl. It's football weather in Edmonton with 12-degree and cloud cover as game time is at 1 p.m. But for now, let's get you set as I welcome in my co-host, mentor, boss, and casual friend, Matthew Iwanyk. It's the EST kickoff show as the Edmonton Huskies welcome the visiting Calgary Colts. Matty, how are you doing?
I'm great. I'm going to have to remember that. I love all of that there. I like a mentor, casual friend, boss all in there. Love that. I'm great. I love summer. You know me. Yeah. I love summer. But there's nothing that screams football to me than weather like today. This is football season. You've got the stretch run of the Canadian Football League, which is heading into the playoffs. You've got Prairie Junior Football. You got Golden Bears. You know, they're ending their season. Last few games of that season. This is the weather I want for football.
Yes.
There's just something about that crisp in the air, that fall weather. This is why I'm okay with summer being over, because of this type of stuff. We're at a great spot at the JP Bowl. You've been with Eric this season here. I'm filling in for Eric, so this is my first opportunity to get here. This is a wonderful setup that they have here. Yeah. This is awesome. And gates have just opened. There was a lineup of people waiting to get in. They are now in. We've got live music going on. This is wonderful. And yeah. I get to spend 2 days on a weekend with you back to back, which is just lovely. I hope today and yesterday I was still the casual friend with you.
One thing I can assure you of, Matthew, is that I have seen you more than I've seen my wife this weekend, and that's a problem, my friend.
I understand that. I'm not going to take zero offense of that one.
No, it is great. And, I mean, look, we're doing something we love. We're talking about football. Last night it was at the CFL level. Today it's at the CJFL level, in particular in the PFC. And this is a big game. I mean, both these teams, as I mentioned, come into this week. This would be week 7 of PFC action with 2-6 records. And there is a logjam at the bottom of this division as the Winnipeg Rifles, the Edmonton Huskies, Calgary Colts, and Edmonton Wildcats are all tied at 2-4. And yesterday, Regina took the lead in the Prairie Football Conference with a massive victory over the Saskatoon Hilltops. So they now sit alone atop the PFC standings at 6-1. Saskatoon sits at 5-2. And then, like I mentioned, there's 4 other teams that are battling it out for those final 2 playoff spots. The Edmonton Wildcats are in Winnipeg today to take on the Rifles, who are also 2-4. So 2 massive games happening here, one here in Edmonton. And a reminder, because the Huskies are doing this as, you know, they're partnering with Edmonton Sports Talk to try and get people out here to experience what so many first-time watchers, viewers get to experience when they come down here to JP Bowl. So it's not too late. Go to go to EdmontonHuskies.com, click on Purchase Tickets, and use promo code EST, and you can still come down, take in the weather, take in the beautiful, there's going to be a halftime show, there's a band, and this is going to be an all-out slugfest of a football game. You get 50% off your tickets. That can be 1 ticket, that can be 10 tickets using promo code EST. So come on down, say hi to Maddie and I. We'd love to see you. But this is going to be an incredible game.
Yeah, and there's a whole merch table next to us here. If you're wondering, there is alcohol for purchase here. If you're wondering, I like watching the game with a cold beer in my hand. You can have that, and there's a concession for all sorts of food. So it's everything that you would want at a football game that you could get here. By the way, before you continue, and with what you thought, I know what I screwed up with the quarterback earlier. This is something Reed talked about. I had the wrong season.
Oh well, that's because
yeah.
The CJFL has some shortcomings.
Well, no, it's not just them. I heard Reed talk about that. Sometimes you go to websites and they don't get you to the right thing. WHL had that problem for a number of years. The baseball league that the Capitals are in, I forgot what the West Coast League, I think that's what it is. They have struggles with that. So that's where I got that QB wrong.
So what you're talking about is you go to the website, you go to Prairie Conference, and it's not the year you're currently in.
It starts in 2023. and so I was looking at a quarterback. I'm like, well,
why wouldn't it?
It's Carson, I think I said. And you're like, no, it's Wesley.
Yeah,
so his brother was the quarterback of this team earlier.
Yeah,
I learned that just now because of this mistake.
They got a family full of arms. As we look at the starting roster, the starting lineups for your Edmonton Huskies, we're going to start on offense, where you got Tristan White, Jacob Patrick, Bjorn Nelson, Joshua Thomas, and Faali Alamona on O-line. Cameron Zoyne, Daniel Youssef, William Campbell, and Meshach Emanazobi are your receivers. Wesley Nice, as we just alluded to, is your starting quarterback, with Aaron DeMerchant and Chris Catula at running back and Dustin Campbell at fullback. On defense, you've got Michael Hyacintho, Keldon Axhorn, Max Sama on your D-line. Matt Alloway gets a start. Christopher Mattiello and Cage Houle is your middle linebacker. Cage Houle is second in the Prairie Football Conference with 30 tackles. So expect to hear his name called a lot today. And Thomas Bogucki at strong. In the secondary, you got Roshan Robinson, Philip Legali, Camden Collett, Max Murphy, and Juven St. Hilaire. Those are your defensive backs for the Edmonton Huskies. Look, this is an interesting matchup for more than two. I mean, Edmonton just went down to Calgary. The Huskies did, and took care of business last week with a fairly commanding 41-30 victory in Calgary to set the stage for this game. But let's be honest, this is a must-win for the Edmonton Huskies if they want to be able to get into the Prairie Football Conference playoffs. Yeah,
the top 4 teams make the playoffs. So let's look ahead if you get this victory. If you're the Edmonton Huskies, next week you get Winnipeg Rifles. So a big matchup. They're taking on, though, as you said, the Wildcats today. So we'll see what the result is there. But let's say the Wildcats beat the Rifles. Well, next week they got Regina.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. Like you could almost put that as an L. Sorry, but you could almost put that one as an L.
Expect that to be a loss. Absolutely.
Colts, they get the Hilltops next weekend. So if they lose today, well, you've won the season series. It doesn't really matter for that case. You could almost afford to lose next weekend, depending on the result of the other one, and still be in the playoffs. That's the benefit that you get. Now, you always want to get into the playoffs with a win. You don't want to get in through the back door. But it's always nice to have that backdoor option open. And a win today gives you that chance. A loss, well, now you got to go beat the Rifles next week. Now you have to go get that win. It doesn't matter what the Colts are doing in the other game. It starts with you needing that victory. It's nicer when you know, okay, we've got multiple paths to the playoffs. So win today, huge confidence for this team, then also going up against the Rifles next week, knowing that they're probably going to be in a playoff spot.
Yeah, and we talked about this earlier when Eric and I have done broadcasts here, that the Huskies had an incredibly tough schedule to start the year. So they knew that this would be, to finish the season, would be a home and home against the Colts and then finish it off against the Rifles, that they felt that they would have to take advantage of that in order to make the playoffs. And here we are, lo and behold, and it is exactly the situation they thought it is. Because let's be honest, the PFC has been run by Saskatchewan teams for several years, dating back to when I played. The Hilltops or the Thunder. It looks like the Thunder is starting to take over the reins from the Hilltops, which is surprising. Actually, I'm not surprised. Given the dedication that program has, the leadership, the ownership of that team is first class. So I guess I'm not surprised that they're starting to build that out and compete and beat the Saskatoon Hilltops, because let's be honest. There's not too many dry eyes, or when the Hilltops are getting beat. They've run the PFC for long enough.
Them or the Huskies.
So,
I'm no sympathy. Sorry, Eric. Sorry, Lucas. Screw you.
Yeah, this is always good. And as I mentioned, the Hilltops fell yesterday to the Regina Thunder.
Can I ask you a question about that? I have 2 questions to ask about PFC, because you know this league. You've been around it. You've played in it.
Yeah.
Why is it that the Saskatchewan teams are so good? What is happening out there that we're not doing here in Alberta, or that we could do better here in Alberta?
Right. I think it's a combination of a couple things. One is that kids from Saskatoon, some of them grow up desiring and wanting to be a Hilltop.
That's an actual dream of theirs.
Yes, being a Hilltop in Saskatoon is something you wear that jacket with pride. And people around
I've
town
heard some stories about that, actually.
know who you are.
Yeah.
Right? It's a thing. Now, Regina was a little bit behind because they've always had the Rough Riders. They're not the number one team in town. But the junior programs in Saskatchewan do a good thing of taking players in and keeping them there. So, believe it or not, the University of Saskatchewan Huskies and the Hilltops butt heads. They do not really play well together. And I would imagine that's the same situation for the Thunder. But although I think the Thunder's a little bit better at using it as a jumping-off platform to get to the next level, but when you go into a Tom Sargent coached Saskatoon Hilltops team, he wants you there for 5 years.
Oh, so those players aren't heading off to the Huskies, and that's causing some friction there, whereas more so like if you're a Husky or a Wildcat here, like Huskies I'm talking U-Sport with Saskatchewan, University of Saskatchewan, it's if you spend a few years here, but if you go to the Bears, it's all good. You're trying to push them to that almost.
It does happen that you can have players shake free from those clubs, but it is very well known that they keep their players there and like to keep them there. So when you have that continuity and you have somebody that's going into their fourth year, but you have somebody in their first year that's willing to stay there for 3-4 years, then you build that.
Well,
where you need to be as a player is set by those that are ahead of you.
Well, I was just going to say, if you have fourth, fifth year players that are of stars, that's a huge advantage. Then if you're the Huskies, you have that solid player, but he goes to the Bears, and you're like, awesome, go to the Bears, but you don't keep him around.
Yeah.
And that hurts you, and it's okay. So that makes sense to me. Here's another thing how much have you seen over the last 10, 20 years since you played the growth of the quality of play of this league improve?
Yeah, immensely.
Yeah?
Immensely. And it's just the growth of football in general. And I would say athletics on a whole, Matty. Like, I mean, when you and I were in high school and you're playing sports or...
I picture just running. Like, there's not a lot of throwing.
Yeah.
I don't picture that nowadays.
Right. You've got kids that are activated the whole year in football, in training, immersed in it. So it's resulting in a better on-field product. There's no question about that. However, once you get to this level, football's your sport. For those high school kids, I would still recommend go play football in the fall, play basketball in the winter, play rugby, play handball, track, do other things, please, because it makes you so much more coachable because you're being coached by other people. But it also improves so many skill sets that you'll need once you define your sport, that you're saying, okay, I want to pursue this. You're going to have so much more skill set that you can carry that forward with. But no question, the training. It's the off-season programs that, when I was with the Wildcats, you would be done, end of October, November. That's when, the Canadian Bowl is. But you're starting your off-season training in January. You're getting together 2-3 times a week as a session, whether it's at the Kisman Fieldhouse or down at Foot Field in the Dome, and you're putting in the work. So you're building. There's not as much of an off-season, I guess, and taking advantage of weight training, actually working out. That was foreign to me when I played. No. And I wasn't the only one, but it wasn't treated as seriously as it is now.
Well, and that's, to me, just to throw out there that if you are wondering, I want to go to, is this going to be an entertaining football game? Yes, the Huskies are going to provide a good entertainment with the Colts because this is more of a football that you would see that you wouldn't have maybe expected 20 years ago.
Absolutely.
If you're coming to a PFC game, you come to a Huskies game, you're seeing a playbook being used. You're seeing a playbook being run. You're seeing the passes. You're seeing the runs. It's a much higher quality of entertainment value for a cheap price.
Yep, absolutely. No, but it's funny. You said it earlier. You come here and you see people that you've seen, at least here. I've known these people for a long time. These old guys that are sitting around here standing, telling stories. They were the same old guys telling stories back in '99 when I was playing. But that is what these teams need. We were talking to a lady that came over and just wanted to know more about EST and what we do, and I said, so how do you, how are you involved with the Huskies? And she said, oh, it's just my friend. She has a son on the team, and I like to help out, and I just want to get out of the house and do something fun. And it's people like that that give their time so generously and just want to help out. That is what these junior teams are built off of. Literally, Matty, this is all volunteers. Everybody you see around here is volunteers. There's not one paid position here.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Everybody does it out of the kindness of their hearts and for the love of the game. And it does feel good when you see a player from your team go on or go to the next level and succeed there and maybe set them up a bit on a better path. And to say that you had a role in that, it does come full circle and mean a lot, for sure. Now, I wanted to talk about a couple things here. I'm trying to figure out what's going to happen on this game because both these teams, well, Calgary, I think is in tough here. And I'll tell you why. They've given up the second most points in the PFC, and they score the least points. Well, it's second least, but I think it's by 2 points. That's a tough place to be when you're giving up the most points and you're scoring the least. However, Calgary rushes the ball fairly well. Zion Dogby-Brown is their leading rusher in Calgary. They are averaging 5.8 yards per carry, so that's good. I just think what's happened is they've gotten behind the 8 ball too early in games, which has forced them to go away from the run. If Calgary can stick to that, I think they'll be able to run the ball quite well because last time we were here, the visiting Wildcats were here, and they ran the ball quite successfully on the Huskies. So it'll be interesting to see as a game plan how that all shakes out, whether they stick to the run or if Edmonton can come out early and get after them, force them into throwing situations. I think that bodes well for the Huskies.
This Huskies defense tied for top spot in the PFC for forced fumbles.
Yep.
You know, they can cause that ball to be on the turf and recover it. They have had a few interceptions. Right now they're second in terms of tackles in the PFC. And then I was looking earlier, they got 3 of the top 10 defenders in terms of tackles in the entire conference. Yep. So, you know, a nice little defense that they've got going there. And there's got to be a good swagger for this team also coming into this one after that win last week. But you also have to make sure that doesn't create overconfidence, and the coaching staff's going to have to be on top of it to make sure, okay, yeah, we beat this team just last week down in their barn. But it's a brand new game.
Yeah.
Score 0. We've got 60 minutes to play. We got to go do it again.
Well, and part of that, you know, for them having that many tacklers is unfortunately they're on the field a lot.
Yeah.
Their offense has not been able to amount to all that much, which is sad. There was a lot of hype coming out of Calgary after last season. Hasn't seemed to pan out as much as you would like. But once again, Calgary is a team that donate a lot of their players to the Dinos year in and year out, especially their top players. Because look, if you come out of high school, you say, look, I'm going to play junior football for a year, which I agree with wholeheartedly. You're going to do that, and you come out and you're starting. Oh, wow, you're a PFC All-Star your first year. Well, guess what? Every CIS or U Sports team in Western Canada is knocking on the door giving you a full scholarship to come play for them. That's not easy to turn down, especially when you don't have that, you know, that regimen that has been taught for decades like they do in Saskatoon where they want you to commit to. It's almost like frowned upon for Saskatoon Hilltops players to leave. That's why when I was playing at the U of A, I went from the Huskies or the Wildcats to the U of A. We had a mass influx of, well, not mass. We had 3 or 4 Hilltops that came in, like game changers. There was Ryan David, Andrew Ginther, Andrew Ford, Brendan McFall,
to the
Ryan
Bears?
Mikolenko. Yeah, they all came from the Hilltops. They wanted to get the hell out of Dodge, I think. They just wanted to go to school in a different province and experience life somewhere else, right? And we sure benefited from that. Those were top players of ours. But it doesn't happen that often. So when you look at Calgary, they're getting cherry-picked every year, just as the Hilltops are, just as the Huskies are, just as the Wildcats are. It's just what happens here in Edmonton. And not only that, when you have 2 junior programs in, that doubles your recruiting class coming out of this city.
That's a fantastic point. Right? Calgary only has the 1.
Yeah.
The rest of them, Winnipeg and Saskatoon and Regina, you're splitting, or Winnipeg gets the whole province.
Yeah.
Saskatoon and Regina are cutting in half.
Yeah.
Why does Edmonton have 2? How did that happen?
That's a great question, and maybe
That's awesome for us.
Maybe we can ask Jason Lorimer when he comes on here.
Because I don't want that to change.
No, and there was talk about, there's always talk about it in the background. Well, why is there two? Why do they fight over the same players? And I guess the good news is that there's enough talent in this city for two teams. Now, it's not
talent, support, all of that to support two clubs.
Absolutely.
Outstanding.
And I will say, given that there's more roster spots in Edmonton in the junior level than there is in Calgary, you do get a lot of those Central Alberta players, the Lacombes, the Sylvan Lakes, the Red Deers, that come north and either go to the Huskies or the Wildcats. You'll see these rosters littered with players from Central Alberta.
I also just like the fact that in Edmonton, for the football community, it's where did you play? And then there's the side.
Oh, there's a great
divide. There's the side to that, and
that never goes away.
And that I love. I love the fact that well, these are the football. And I remember, because I had to double check with you before the show, but I had you on the hangout with Damon Bunting, and it was you were the Wildcat, and Damon was the running back for the Huskies. So it was on mission. There's a little something always there between the two of you.
Yeah, always, and that never goes away. And that's the beauty, and that's the bond that you build when you're part of these teams and in these clubs. It never leaves you, and that's for good reason. That's the same reason you see, like I said, all these old guys around reminiscing about the good old days when they played in the 60s. They don't go away. But that's what it takes, for these programs to survive.
Well, and what's great, though, is they're older guys, but it's also like with the CFL, how do you make sure that there's younger people taking this over? And I'll say just for, I don't know the Huskies full board, but up until just a couple of years ago, you were running the Wildcats.
Yep.
And it's nice to see that still goes with the youth and the younger generations, that commitment is still there, that it wasn't just an old school mentality, that those guys are running this, because one day those guys can't keep running this. And you need those younger people to do it. And, I was just looking at the coaching staff of this Huskies team, just based on pictures. That's a young-looking coaching staff. Mm-hmm. That is a young, there's a good, it's give back to the football community, and we'll do that by coaching or whatever. So, that's the part that I look at. Yeah, it'd be wonderful if one time we could have Huskies, Wildcats both at the top, and we're talking about huge battles because they're running the PFC.
Yep.
But at the very least, behind the scenes, just the way how well things are run, the fact that there's support, it is wonderful to see. And again, I'm still just surprised at how much merch.
Yeah,
it's a lot of merch. A very variety, women's stuff, a bunch of cups. It's amazing.
Eric loves the merch stand here. He has to watch himself, otherwise he'd blow the budget here on all the Huskies gears, because it is a decent logo. I will say that.
One for him. He's not far from here.
He's hop, skip, and a jump, I believe.
Yes.
Let's look at some of the leaders on these teams. Calgary, I mentioned Zion Dogby-Brown. In 6 games, he has 102 rushing attempts for 679 yards, Matty. That's 6.7 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns. He's averaging over 100 yards rushing per game, which is phenomenal. For the Huskies, you're looking at Aaron DeMerchant, who's having look, you look at Zion Dogby-Brown. He's rushed the ball 102 times. Aaron DeMerchant, the leading rusher for the Huskies, has rushed the ball 56 times. Right? That's almost half as many carries, but he's got a 5.2 yard per carry, 1 touchdown, and he's rushing about 50 yards a game. The Huskies use the air a lot more than the Calgary Colts would, for sure. In the receiving, you got Makash Amazanobi. 6 games, he's had 26 receptions for 313 yards. That's good for a 12-yard average, 1 touchdown, and he's had a huge big game, long play. He had a 142-yard touchdown. That's not even possible.
142 yards?
Can't be.
Biggest is 129.
This is false.
Isn't it? No, 110. Yeah, 129.
Lies.
What? Yeah, because that's 130.
And Zion Dogby-Brown is Calgary's offense. Let's put it that way. He's got 17 receptions for 215 yards. He is the leading receiver for the Calgary Colts. That's, Matty, I'm just going to say, that's not good. That's not good when your leading receiver is also your leading rusher, and he only has 17 receptions. 17 receptions, Matt. Now, as I was saying that, I said, what other team do we know that the leading receiver is also their leading rusher? Sounds like a team from Edmonton here called the Elks.
Yeah.
That's not good. So there you go for rushing. Defensive, Cage Houle, like I said, is second in the PFC in tackles. He's having a phenomenal season, 2 tackles for loss. And for Calgary, Drew McCasey is 27 tackles this year alone. Punt returning, kick returning is all pretty similar for these teams. There's nobody that has really stood out for either of these teams. Just looking here if any of these have returning touchdowns. No. So, I think, Maddie, looking at these stats again, it looks like this game will be won and lost on the ground for Calgary. I think if the Edmonton Huskies can come in and play their game and establish their game, establish their tempo, which is a fast-paced offense, I think they can come out ahead. And look, they've got some injuries on the offensive line that have been tough for them in the run game in the pass
Huskies?
game. Yeah. So it's going to be a big game for those big guys up front. Tristan White, Jacob Patrick, Bjorn Nelson, Joshua Thomas, Fa'ali Alamona to step up and really insert themselves today.
Yeah, I'll say, and for those that maybe are just tuning in for the first time, at the start of this year, their quarterback got hurt. He only got 2 games, Jackson Harnett, born in 03, so they're going with Wesley Neitz, born in 07, a young quarterback.
Yep.
So something that they obviously weren't expecting coming into this season, that they'd have to be relying on him as their starting quarterback. So while that might not have results that they're looking for today, these could be, though, very important reps for next season, the year after, for him to become a type of quarterback that could lead this Huskies and maybe increase that receiving, or the passing yards of this team and get the ball out a little bit more. So, I was just looking, the sack, he's been sacked 46 times according to these stats. So it's like that, those injuries on O-line, you see them professionally. When you lose them professionally, it's hard to overcome them. I couldn't imagine losing it at a lower level. I'm still just weirded out by 142-yard reception.
That's a hell of a return.
He got it from out of bounds and returned it.
I wonder if he went out of the end zone, back into the end zone, just tiptoed the end line, and then came the whole way back.
It also says that Neitz' longest pass is 167 yards.
Hey, that's a hell of a throw.
That was a hell of a pass.
I'll tell you what, boy, the day I threw it for 167 yards.
Hey, the CFL doesn't have their stats right.
No, I guess you can't. You can't really.
No.
And you know what? That's the thing too. Is this is all?
It's all for fun.
Like we've had Jim Pankovich, the commissioner of the CJFL. He's a for the most part a one-man crew. I mean, there's like he lives in Edmonton. He's a former Wildcat, former president of the Wildcats. That was then the PFC president, and then went on to become the CJFL president. He's doing a phenomenal job with it. But here's an interesting thing, Matt, and I brought this up. We had Huskies head coach Marshall Klein on the Reed Wilkins show Friday, and I asked him about this, and I understand. He gave an answer that, he didn't want to stick his nose somewhere where it shouldn't be. But although there's only 2 games left this season, there's 3 weeks left in the season. Every team has a bye next week.
I saw that. I was wondering why there's a bye and they're not playing next week and they're instead playing Thanksgiving weekend.
Now, and we'll see if GM Jason Lorimer was supposed to join us, but he's probably doing GM things, so I don't blame him. He's running around like a chicken with his head cut off. I've been there, done that. It's game day is busy. But I wanted to ask, him, like, they have a bye week and then they play on Thanksgiving weekend. Why wouldn't you shift the bye week to the end of the year? Have 2 weeks or a bye before playoffs.
Let everyone prepare for playoffs.
Right? Let everybody prepare for playoffs. Oh, and by the way, I mean, these are amateur sports. They get to spend Thanksgiving with their family as well. This isn't pros where you're expected to miss Christmas and miss. Let the kids have Thanksgiving with their family, with their parents who, by the way, have footed an immense amount of money for them to be doing this for as long as they have. I don't understand why.
Yeah, so that Sunday in 2 weeks, Huskies are home, but the Rifles have to come here. So the Winnipeg team doesn't get to spend Thanksgiving with their family.
Yeah.
Hilltop, Calgary's in Saskatoon, so the Calgary has to make a travel. So this team doesn't get to spend Thanksgiving with their family. And the Wildcats have to go to the Thunder. So the Wildcats have a long drive. Like, even at the very least, schedule the Wildcats against the Huskies if you can. I don't know. It's going to be
Right.
tough. And send the Colts to Winnipeg or vice versa. So then only one team is kind of without.
We don't really care
know.
about the Colts, man.
I'll send them on the road every
Put
year.
them in the put them.
And then at the very least, Saskatoon and Regina, it's 2 hours. You could send a game day drive down the bus. They could still spend the Saturday with their families. But yeah, that is a weird. Like I was looking at, I was wondering if there was a reason for that. The fact that you don't know tells me that there isn't this isn't something that is just a known reason or something.
Well, and
like
usually the season has ended, and like usually have they have 2 bye weeks every year. One is on September long week or August long, and then they usually do one in September. This
they had this September long.
Really late, and I'm not sure why they chose to do that, because usually it's bang 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 to finish off the season as they get prepared. Because the winner of the PFC also, this is huge. The winner of the PFC hosts the Canadian Bowl.
Are they this year?
Yeah. So whoever comes out of the PFC will be the team that ultimately hosts the Canadian Bowl, which will be held in November. And I have a hard time, thinking it's going to be somebody other than Regina or Saskatoon. But like I've said, like we always say, that's why they play the games, right?
You never. Hey, the one I'll always go to is the New England Patriots should have been 19-0. They should have. Really, they were the best team that year, by far. But in the one game that mattered, they lost. And they will always be known as 18-1. The Giants will always have that Super Bowl title, and you can't take that away from them because any given Sunday. One big thing that naturally, it's coming up around here. We've heard it a bit. Big news from this week.
Yep.
It comes to this, and it is the rule changes. Who are we just talking with at one point?
Curtis Craig, president of the Edmonton Huskies.
And he doesn't think that maybe that there'll be the changes here, but he also don't necessarily need them.
Yeah.
Because and it is that's the one thing as the week has gone on, I was angry about that part, and I still am a little angry about that part. But I think at the lower levels, you don't need to change the rules.
No.
Because if you are talented enough, if you are good enough, the rule changes aren't changing whether you're talented or not.
Yeah.
And these rules, at least, I think, stick with them for the kickers, especially to see if we can develop Canadian kickers, keep that going. Because I think if you go the other ruled way, you're definitely not kicking.
No.
In PFC. But I don't think they have to do that. It's the U Sport one that I do question, like what happens if the Dinos don't want to change? How does this impact? But that has been a big topic that is it's been talked about across the country for this week, and it's naturally being talked about here.
Well, as we welcome back, this should be a regular thing next time, okay, JB? We welcome in John Belmont. You're a color commentator for the broadcast here.
Down a little bit. There you go.
And this is ICU TV? ICU Productions. Yeah. So if you want to watch this game, like you can any of the games, you go to cjfltv.net and you can download, or it's a pay-per-play.
If you go Huskies football, EdmontonHuskies.com, it says watch online live.
Right on.
Boom, takes you right where you need to go.
So John Belmont, a football mind that has been with and around football for centuries, right?
A lot of years.
No, but I mean, you've been around this game a long time. We were just talking about the changes that are coming to the CFL in 26 and 27, and ultimately we'll get into how that comes into effect here. Or if it does. But first of all, as a guy who's been around the game a long time and a major fan of the CFL, what are your thoughts?
Well, my first thoughts were that's what happens when you put a guy from TSN in charge of the Canadian Football League. Everything is about, seriously, it's about TV production. It's not about the history of our game. And I love the American game for what it is. I love the Canadian game for what it is, and they're very, very different. Trying to bring them closer together with rules and field dimensions and that, it's kind of ridiculous. Now, this you don't know, Jason, because you're not a history guy, are you?
Not as well-versed as you.
Well,
I'm sure you of that.
I just lived it. But, the biggest part to me is I was reading a book on Jim Thorpe, Path Lit by Lightning, a wonderful biography if you want to read it. But in there, they talk about how in 1912, after the 1911 season, the president of the United States at that time was Teddy Roosevelt. And they had to change what was going on with football. Guys are getting killed. And whether it be at the semi-amateur, pro, whatever it was, including colleges. So they made changes, and here's what they went from. They went from a 110-yard field with deep end zones, 65 yards wide, down to their present ones, which is a 100-yard field with a 10-yard end zone and 53 yards wide. And that's been there since then. But that was done for a reason that we never had here. We never changed over those. And our game developed differently from what the U.S. game did. And if you watch U.S. football, the way, whether it's the young kids all the way up, it's a very precise game because how small the windows are. Whether you're running the ball, passing the ball, whatever, it's a small area. So everything happens differently. With us, we're more wide open, and our rules are that way. What we're trying to do is eliminate some of these wide open rules, which to me is foolish. And again, going with the field change, you tell me how you're going to take a 110-yard field, make it 100, put a 15-yard end zone in, okay, put the goalposts at the back. Okay, you can do it, but we did it all over Canada. Who's going to pay for it?
Yeah.
Now, I'd suggest for the amateur game, I suggest go ahead and do it if that's what they want, and then send the bill to the CFL or to TSN. You know, because to me, this is what's going on. I don't think it the reason that you watch games today in the CFL and watch it on TSN, which I do, that you look in Winnipeg and that sometimes there's a lot of people in the stands. Lots of times there's not many people there. But you look at how the rules are structured today, it is for the fan in the stand or in the watching on TV than it is in the stands. I was at the Elks game last night, and I'm sitting there, first quarter, 4 timeouts. Not one of them was a timeout for the officials or the team. They were all TV timeouts. Second quarter, you had 3. Now, they married one with an injury, but they took their TV timeout at the same time, so it went longer. And the way the rules are, a TV timeout or an injury timeout, the clock starts as soon as they whistle it in before the ball snapped. On a called timeout by a team, it's whistled in on the snap, and it's different.
Yeah.
You know, so you watch these things. Well, in the first quarter, there were 4 times out. In the second quarter, there were 3, but then you have the automatic 3-minute warning, which they use, so that's another timeout. Now, that's 7 timeouts, all right? Do the second half, 7 times. That's 14 timeouts. How long are the timeouts, TV timeouts? 2 minutes?
Yeah.
That's 28 minutes added on to fans coming to the ballpark. And, you know, so when you add it all up, it is detrimental to the fan in the stands for the benefit of people at home. And my point is this. The CFL, I believe today, is not that much different what it was 20 years ago in that it is a gate-driven league.
Oh, absolutely.
And there's just not enough, you know, people in our country really to totally handle the TV revenues like they have in the States. You go to the NFL, every team is in profit before they sell one season ticket, just off their TV contracts.
Yeah, they literally could not play without fans.
Absolutely.
And they would make money, which is wild to think.
Yeah. Well, they did it during COVID.
Yeah. And they were the one league that was like, yeah, cool, we can't have fans, let's do it. We're fine. We could play.
Yeah.
They could absolutely do that. And I think yesterday was also, I think, shown. You know, we'll have to see how it fully plays out, what happens with that 35-second play clock. But that final 3 minutes, it's exciting as heck. Now, for Elks fans, it was a little close. But in those 3 minutes, what can happen with the way it is, they just can't touch that game clock in those final 3 minutes.
Now, that is such an interesting point because me being a coach, I want that 35 seconds too because I can use it, right?
Yeah.
And every coach will tell you that. But when it comes down to the actual fan in the stands, if they had 35 seconds on that clock last night, Saskatchewan doesn't come back down that field. They just won't have the time.
Yep.
And that's the beauty of how things go. I was sitting in the stands watching. I'm watching that referee. When's he going to blow in the whistle? When's he going? Then I start counting the seconds down. And it was exciting. I mean, then that's Canadian football.
That's the finish you want to see. We were watching, we did the pre- and post-game show from our studio last night. Matt had a clock on at one point because I was looking at the finish of the game slightly through different lenses to say, how is this going to change? And at one point, your timer was well over 40 seconds.
Yeah, so what I hope they do, though, is that they don't mess with the game clock and it'll rush the teams to get back to the line a little quicker. And that I could understand. But, there was one play where the Riders were moving, and they took their time getting back, and by the time it was whistling and the play got snapped, it's about 45 seconds.
Yeah, and then what will happen sometimes with this, if you look at it, you look at their timeouts, they didn't use – now, Saskatchewan ended up using all their timeouts. We didn't use all of ours. But you only got 2 timeouts a half. Mm-hmm. Well, I remember in the CFL, there were no timeouts. And there was no TV timeouts. And the radio broadcasters, guys like Holland, they had to get their ads in during the game.
Sure.
Halsey's pretty good at that.
Halsey's one of the best.
I was just going to say, anybody that talks like Brian as fast as he could talk, he could do it. A lot of people can't. And, of course, when you're talking ad revenue, this is where the TV comes into it. They need time.
Yeah.
And so that's what it comes down to. But, again, this is just me personally. I don't believe that the CFL should be taking away from the fans in the stands for people watching home on TV. That's just me.
That's a great point, and appreciate your thoughts on it. I know you got to get up to the broadcast booth to call the game, but before you do, I just want to get your thoughts on this game. I mean, the Huskies went down to Calgary last week and laid a thumping on them in Calgary at Sholdis Field. Back up here, both with 2-6 records. Is this a loser goes home situation if you look at the rest of the season?
Absolutely. The way the situation looks like Regina might have sold up first place. Of course, it'll come down to the final, but
they're playing the Wildcats.
The Wildcats are going to win it. And so they'll end up 7-1. I think the Hilltops will end up 6-2. They got a lot of injuries on their line, especially. And then you take a look at the other teams. Well, right now, believe it or not, the Huskies are in third place. And if they win out here and beat Rifles, they'll end up in third place. So it can be done. They're going to have to play very well. That game in Calgary last week, I was down at it. It was a lot closer than what the score showed, the final score. A couple of things happened late in the game, and the Huskies got a couple of quick touchdowns, which popped up the score pretty good. But as far as the game went, I'll tell you, Calgary is physical. But one thing that happened to them was what happened to the Huskies last number of years. I saw Huskies winning ball games coming into the fourth quarter and lose them because they take URs or unsportsmanlike conduct penalties. That happened to Calgary last week, and they took an inordinate number of those in the fourth quarter, which enabled the Huskies to drive down and to score. Huskies are still in a situation with injury problems with their running backs. Their starting running back will not be dressed again today. He'll be ready for the next game. 2 more weeks, he'll be ready to go. But it's one of those things. Calgary, their running back last week had a heck of a game, got hurt late in the game, but he's out here running around. So I expect Browns are going to be ready to go.
Well, it's going to be an interesting game. John Belmont, thank you as always for joining us. Thank you for your insight.
Much. You guys
enjoy the call.
Have a good one.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thanks, JB.
Great. That makes me so happy, everything you said about the CFL. I'm on that side, so that excites me.
We got to talk about
that. Gets me very happy when it comes to
okay, so breaking news here. We've got General Manager Jason Lorimer that came in, and look, he was going to come by for his regular check-in at 12:20. I didn't see you, and I didn't freak out and say, well, where the heck? Because I knew something was up.
Yep.
Because you're usually on. So tell us what happened, and tell us how this all came to be here.
Well, typically we do talk a bit about the recruiting situation and promoting the game and trying to retain players. That's a really important speaking topic that we normally have. While we're on the sideline, I was looking at the rosters, and this guy's not on the field. This guy's not on. He's on the field. He's not on the roster. He's on the field. He's not on the roster. The Calgary Colts were recruiting some guys that they want to retain for next year. So they wanted to give them a little bit of exposure to the pregame process and get them brought up to speed. we found that out, and then everything settled down. The coaches are a little bit less angry. A little bit of a chess match before the game.
Because the roster that you're allowed to have on the sideline for a PFC game for the visiting team is what?
46 unless. There's an interesting unless. Edmonton, when we play the Wildcats, we are both allowed 65-man rosters when you're at home.
It's a gentleman's agreement.
Well, that's a league agreement.
Yeah, well, I guess it was mandated by the league, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
You're not traveling. There's no expenses to travel. You're not staying in hotels.
And
so the home team's allowed 65, but the only away team on the road that's allowed 65 is Huskies or Wildcats if they're at the opposing. Okay.
Exactly. But you are allowed to declare one game a season. If you are not an Edmonton team, you're allowed to declare one game per season that you can bring 55. Mm-hmm. Calgary's declared their game for next week for the Hilltops to be the 55-man roster, and we were unaware of that, so we just had to figure out what was going on, had to talk to the commissioner, see the details, and make sure that everything's above board.
Did you make a phone call to the commissioner just like minutes ago to clarify this?
I got Curtis Craig, our team president, to do so, yeah.
Wow, this is fascinating.
Tisk.
No, they were doing the right thing.
Oh, okay,
I should have checked with them a little bit earlier to say, hey, why you got too many guys? And they're like, he gave the Coach Craig is a phenomenal coach and a great guy, and he gave his version of the truth, and we're rolling with it.
I don't like. No. This is a controversy. I demand this game does not start until we get all the answers. That's what we need to do. All right. Well, thanks for hopping in late. I know we got to get you down to the sidelines for game time. How you feeling? I mean, we just had JB on. Maddie and I were talking about it earlier. 2-6. Although you guys went down there and took care of business last week in Calgary. Look. Loser goes home.
Pretty much.
I mean, you guys, though, I will say, have the better chance of losing and still making the playoffs than Calgary does, who's going to be in Saskatoon, than the Wildcats, who are going to be in Regina. Those are both losses.
Yeah, that's the big benefit to the schedule that we got handed this year. When we saw it, and I know we've spoken about this in the past, when you play Regina, Saskatoon, Regina back-to-back,
early,
things are going to look very bleak for your season. You're playing the two best teams in the country. It is what it is. But we got them out of the way. I've said it before, they exposed all of our deficiencies, which taught us a lot about ourselves and allowed us to several weeks to catch up and fix everything. So we're feeling pretty good about today. We just got to make sure we keep the energy rolling from last week. The big benefit we get talking about that home field advantage of the 65-man roster, it's 65 versus 46. So if we've got the depth there, we can keep the guys fresh and keep it rolling because that's what they did to us last week, and they kept that fourth quarter pressure really hard.
So you got the win against the Colts last week.
Yep.
What do you need to still improve on to guarantee or kind of put you in a better spot to get it this week?
Tackling.
Yeah.
Tackling is it. They've got an outstanding running back core. Zion Brown is a very special athlete. He can break out a game on his own, and if we can wrap him up and keep him to minimal yardage, then we'll be in good shape.
What about, the passing game here?
Yeah.
Right? It just hasn't really taken off. Wesley Neitz is going to be in there. Are you guys trying to focus on that area of your game to bring it up? Because the running game is there. The running game is there. I know Calgary, they're going to be focused on the run game because that's a major part of their offense. But is there something you guys think you can build off here with Wesley Neitz, a young quarterback?
Very young quarterback, 17.
Yeah, I mean, that can come in and under pressure-filled situation like this show out.
Well, the fun part is I think he had more passing touchdowns than running touchdowns last week. I know they did because he had some amazing catches from our receivers. There was one ball that went up. He threw it from the 45. And Will Campbell went up, and I swear to God, he lost that ball, and then he retracted and caught it the last second in the end zone. It was a beautiful thing. But we just got to keep our balanced game, and with a balance, you can kind of control everything.
I got to ask one question here before we let you go. Once again, this is Edmonton Huskies General Manager Jason Lorimer here joining us. Was there any bad blood on the sidelines in Calgary last week? I have never went to that field. I've been there several times when I was with my former team.
Yep.
Sorry, and it was awful. They put you right in front of the home team stands, and they are mad, angry people.
So
yes.
Last year, above and beyond the hospitality they gave the Wildcats the past few years, the hospitality was expanded out to some other teams.
Yeah.
And it came to a head. And luckily for us, our boys were very well behaved and didn't have to climb the fences and start a brawl. But other teams were not. So not even the Wildcat one. That wasn't even you guys. There was a massive brawl there. and they changed some rules down there in Calgary specifically. We are out of the hostile territory, and we're on the far side of the field away from everything.
Oh, thank goodness.
And that is all.
Round of clicks, commissioner. Yeah.
The home team is based now, and it's a whole lot quieter. It's a much more enjoyable place to be.
Now, would that be a Randy O'Shaughnessy? That's the PFC president move, or would that come from the top?
No, it was a Randy O'Shaughnessy call. Yeah,
Okay.
Randy made the right call. It's it's player safety, fan safety.
Yeah.
A simple fact is you look at these guys and you're like, oh, they're not too big, and then you go and stand up to Daniel Youssef, who's 605, 260 pounds of pure muscle. It's a terrifying.
He's a big boy.
Yeah. I look up to the man, and I'm not a small dude.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of big boys out there, and if one of them feels threatened, it's very easy. Could turn into a real bad situation. It's for safety for everybody.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that it's not come to that point. But we're in a great place.
Good. I'm glad they rectified it. Go get that W today.
Thank you very much.
Punch your ticket
All
to
the
the
best.
playoffs.
Thank you.
That
Yes.
was Edmonton Huskies general manager Jason Lorimer as we get set here. We are minutes away from kickoff, which means Maddie and I are going to get out so that you can switch over to CJFL TV if you are taking in the game. Maddie, do we have a little Ryder Cup update for those launching?
Well, I just looked over the board as we're saying farewell. Team Europe has the scores to win. I saw a lot of red on that board. A lot more than I saw a little bit earlier. Right now, U.S. has 1, 2, 3, 4 leads. The Europeans have 1, 2. They only are up in 2. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 matches that are all square. Whew. So the Americans they're there. Like it's not over until it's over. It does look like Matt Fitzpatrick is in a great spot to win his match against Bryson DeChambeau. Through 10, Fitzpatrick's 3 up. So that would put the Europeans to 13 points. Need to grab 1 more point, and they would win. Well, no, 1 more point, they retain the title. 1.5 more points, they win the title. There's a big difference in those two.
Okay. Well, what do you think? How'd it go for you here today, Maddie?
This is great. This is, I always get frustrated with myself at about this time of the year, maybe a little bit later, where it's like, I should go to more Golden Bears or Huskies or Wildcats games.
Yep.
And then, September rolls by, October is like, they're like, I've missed out. Next year. So I'm glad this was there, that I could be here, come watch this, come be a part of this. This is wonderful. And this weather is perfect. Like, to me, this is football weather, especially for something like Wildcats or Huskies. So, and look, anytime you could go ABC, anyone but Calgary. Let's go.
Yeah,
Let's knock down Calgary.
Yeah.
Let's do it back-to-back weekends if we're the Huskies. Let's finish them off.
I agree.
And let's punch our ticket to the playoffs. And now I'm using we in this one for this. It's Edmonton, baby.
Yeah, I will not. Sorry, come on. I mean, it is what it is.
It's almost like a blood thing now. Once you get into one of these, that's your team. You support them till death, and you are a Wildcat. But I know you still care about Edmonton football overall. Well, you want the Huskies to do well, just not better than the Wildcat.
Yeah, and look, I mean, Jason Lorimer is a great friend of mine. Curtis Craig, the president, I've gotten to know over the years, also a great man. Anybody that's putting this amount of time and effort into something like amateur football in Edmonton is going to have my heart for a long time, because I care about it. I'm passionate about it, and I really feel like there's a lot of purpose for what goes on here, not just with going to the next level.
All good. Lucas Renyuk. He's 27. No, we're not.
No, they're up top.
Sorry, we're just doing a pregame show. Sorry about that.
You go up there. It's okay.
Hey, I respect that.
Hey, I like it. That's good.
Hey, I'm assuming that's his son?
I hope
Make
it is.
sure that they get the name right.
Number 27, Lucas Renyuk, will be making a game-changing kick today.
Well, he's for the other team, so I don't know if I want that.
I didn't say it was a winning kick. I
That's
said
fair.
it was a game-changer.
So they have to adjust that. But yeah, anyone who supports minor football, it's awesome. It's good to see.
Okay, we are done here for the Edmonton Huskies kickoff show with myself and Matthew Iwanyk. Once again, it is not too late. If you are in the area, you want to come down and watch this game, come down and go to EdmontonHuskies.com, click on Purchase Tickets, use promo code EST for 50% off. That doesn't matter if it's one ticket or 10 tickets, you're going to save 50%. Matty, this was great. I appreciate you joining me today. On behalf of Matthew Iwanyk, I'm Jay Milne. This was the ESD Edmonton Huskies kickoff show. Game time's coming up next. We'll chat with you soon.